Thank you, Nella. Before we continue with the program, did you know today's event is possible because of the 100 volunteers that have given their time to bring this live together? So why don't we just give them a big round of applause at this point? Awesome. And it's probably been a long day for many of you, so did you know that you can also grab coffee upstairs? Have you all been drinking enough? Yes? Hopefully. I definitely need a cup to keep up this energy. But continuing on dual-use tech, we will next have another keynote, and this time it will be from Sandra, who's actually the general partner at Baltic Sandbox Ventures, and it's one of the most active venture funds in the dual tech space. And she'll be talking about defense tech investments in the Nordics and Baltics. So let's give her a big hand.
Yeah, as our beautiful host said, so if you wanted to drink some coffee, you still have time before our panel. But if you want to learn about some numbers on what was happening in the Baltics and Finland and dual-use investments, over the last 15, 16 months, you should probably stay here. So first of all, if we're talking about dual use in general, because defense is a hype topic now. I mean, like 2 years ago, if you would be trying to talk about defense to investors would say, no, it's too risky, we don't invest in this. Now, pretty much everyone is in defense dual use, and new fund managers are raising the funds to invest in defense. If you would be looking at the dual use as an ecosystem, in general, is very lucrative for the region, because first of all, defense is driving innovation. I'm Israeli, and in 1991, when Soviet Union collapsed, a lot of scientists and engineers came to Israel, and the government and the army started investing like small amounts of money in them. And then after 3 decades, you see 63 unicorns and one of the strongest economies in the world and one of the strongest defense system in the world. So first of all, we are talking about economic power. Secondly, we are talking about defensibility and political independence, because you have to own the technologies to be politically independent and to be able to offer something when you want to buy the technologies. And we are also talking, of course, about like economical opportunity and bringing money to the region. But what is that we are talking about? Because there is a lot of mix-up, like what is defense, what is dual use, what is deep tech, and so on. We define it the following way. We invest in dual use. We don't say that we invest in defense. We define it the following way. Dual use is the product, the technology that has the commercial application and can be used as commercial use first. If we're talking about the defense, this is the technology that is developed for the military and for the military only. And there might be some commercial application over the years, but initially there was no commercial application. And why I'm even talking about this, because a lot of startups now are looking into investors, investing in defense and dual use, and they're trying to sell their technologies to investors as defense. However, investors don't see the defense, unless those are specialized funds, investors don't see the defense technologies as very much lucrative. First of all, if we are talking dual use, we're talking about more financing and exit opportunities, of course. Because imagine what is the profile of the potential acquirer in defense versus the variety of the potential acquirers in the technologies that have both commercial and military use, right? We are also talking about the scalability, which is limited in many cases, because in most of the cases we are dealing with the governments when we are selling the technologies. Also, when it comes to the investors, and it's still there, and we discussed it at very many different conferences, a lot of investors have ethical concerns. They said, okay, if this is a technology for defense and can be also used for defense, and it's unclear, and this borderline is very much unclear where is which one. So if you're a deep tech startup, like think about it. Do you want to be purely in the defense side, or do you want to be in the dual use side? Also, if we're talking purely defense technologies, it's a high barrier of the market entry because of the regulations, obviously. I mean, if you have the tech for example, military training or for something like this. If you can use this tech in the unregulated industry first and then go to defense, you're much more scalable comparing going to defense only. And of course, it's extended development cycle. So those startups who claim that they invested, that they are building products in defense, they should realize that not all of the investors are going to go for defense because of the return timeline. Some data from the region, and what's interesting about this data, that there are not many officially published numbers because it's a sensitive topic. So when we were looking for this data, we actually called the venture funds and we called the angels that we know that who invest in defense, including, for example, Co-Invest Capital that is present here. And we asked them about the number of deals, we asked them about how much they invested and so on. So what we counted so far is more than 45 investments in Baltics and Finland, which is pretty good for such a small region. We counted at 11 venture funds and accelerators who are investing in dual use and sometimes in defense, they call it defense. More than 40 angels, that's actually a very surprising number. 2 years ago, I was talking at one business angel network, don't remember which one, and I was talking about defense. And for investor, it was for angel investors, it was like, no, we don't invest in these things. Apparently they do. And we are only talking about the deals of the region. 40 angels is quite a lot. And also 130 million funding available. We are only talking about the local funding. So we are not talking, for example, about NATO Innovation Fund that was just here at this stage. With their money, it's way more funding that is available for the dual-use startups. Key verticals in the region, again, we asked the investors and we looked at their startups. Why AI ML is black is something new. Because, of course, drones, autonomous systems are there, secure communication, so it was the same last year, because we update this data every 6 months. But now there are a lot of interesting cases in artificial intelligence and machine learning in defense as well, and in dual use. So if you are working in this field, think about the applications that could be there. And the last one probably is what to expect in the next 12 months, let's put it like this. First of all, there will be more funding for dual use. So we spoke a lot to different institutions overseas, and there is more funding. There are more LPs for the dual use venture funds. Not defense though, because a lot of LPs, they don't want defense still. There is much more non-equity funding, and what we've seen, for example, in the last 6 months, I guess, that we've seen at least several pretty big grant rounds in the startups in the region, grants like 2 million, 2.5 million, which is quite significant. And for the dual-use startups that are also deep tech, it actually makes sense to find as much as possible non-equity financing, because your R&D is expensive, right? We are also looking at the very interesting trends with the more investments in hardware, because traditionally in this region, investors were running away from hardware, especially angel investors. And when you mentioned, okay, we have this deal and it's the hardware startup, investors would say no. And all this hype about defense and dual use, it actually broke this trend. A lot of angels started investing in hardware, realizing that there are some exit opportunities, there are some financial opportunities, and so on. And what we're also looking at, which is very good for the industry, is the simplification of the regulations. So regulations have been there for years. Now, as the part of different governmental initiatives, there are certain sandboxes, there are testing sites, there are special regimes for the procurement and the purchases. So finally, the ministries of defense and other companies, they started taking innovations in defense seriously. So this is more or less all from me, and probably some kind of prep talk for the panel that will be happening here later. Thank you.